Good morning, everyone. Welcome along to the Blood Red Morning Bulletin, your place every weekday from 10 a.m. for the latest Liverpool FC news and transfer rumours. I'm your host for today, Patrick Smith, and I'm joined by Liverpool.com's Dave Comerford. Dave, how's things?
Well, I would say I was excited for the new season to start, but I think the way it's been going recently, it's a bit more apprehensive than anything else, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't be any other way with Liverpool, would it? I mean, one season you go into it like last one thinking you're going to win the lot, and then this one we feel dreadful. Maybe they will win the lot and surprise us this time around, Dave. Who knows? Anyway, though, let's start, shall we, with Jordan Henderson and Virgil van Dijk's comments. Now, you just spoken there how some of us are feeling apprehensive heading into the season. I think Van Dijk has basically said he's feeling apprehensive going into it. What do you make of the comments he's made, Dave?
Well, I think it's pretty damning, first of all, to see the Liverpool captain, as he is now, basically publicly saying that he understands why people have doubts about the team's prospects this season. I think it's a good thing that he's saying it because he's taken on even more status now within the club as the person who wears the armband. So I think when he's sort of coming out publicly and basically heavily hinting that Liverpool need to sign more players, I think that puts pressure on the ownership, on the club, to get something done, because it's a little bit of a source of embarrassment to them. So I do think it's a good thing, and I think it'll be a consistent feature of Van Dijk's time as captain. I think he won't be afraid to call out what he sees as mismanagement from above, to be honest. In the immediate term, it's not too reassuring, because I suppose you'd like to think that the concerns that we have as fans, which are all, very justified, obviously, I think that there's a mood of total confidence behind the scenes. But you kind of get the sense that players are scratching their heads a little bit as to, why so many have left and only 2 new players have come in. And is there a feeling that they just need to do these first few weeks of the season with kind of a decent enough points tally and then push on from there? Because, to be honest, it's already feeling like a bit of a damage limitation exercise ahead of that first game against Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's a really interesting one on many levels, because I think it's very ballsy from Van Dijk to come out and basically say we need more players, and I think he's right to do that, to be honest, because the problem last year was not having enough legs in midfield, basically, and we're now going into the season with considerably less options in midfield even than last year. I mean, we'd be crying out for Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain at the weekend just to fill the bench. I mean, so I get why he's done that, but then also, the likelihood is FSG aren't going to spend. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. We all know them. They're not going to just sign 4 centre midfielders before the end of the window, are we? Like, as much as we'd love that to happen, I don't think that's going to be the case. So it doesn't exactly fill the remaining players in the squad with confidence if your new captain's going out there and saying, basically, we're under equipped and not ready for the season with what we've got. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out in the dressing room, because I'm not sure he's going to be a popular man in training this week with those comments necessarily. But also, Dave, we've seen Jordan Henderson do an interview with Beanie Man Sport. It's the first people he's spoken to since he's moved to Saudi. What did you make of his comments as well? He basically just gave some waffle about how he wants to help grow Saudi Arabian football. He didn't really touch on his time at Liverpool too much, did he?
No, to be honest, I think in terms of getting into that exit from Anfield and the controversy and the very legitimate criticisms people had about his move to Saudi Arabia, I think the time we're going to maybe see that addressed, if ever, is if we see Henderson in the England squad in the autumn and he's put up for a press conference or something like that. I think at that stage, and that's when he won't be able to duck some of the more difficult questions. I think at this point, any sort of media stuff he does will probably be heavily vetted, because there's going to be an awareness of the type of things that might come up, I suppose, from his new club. So it is going to be, I think, shrouded in a little bit of mystery, I suppose, the circumstances of that exit. Obviously, we've seen the reports and stuff, but in terms of getting the sides of the story, the people who are actually involved, Klopp, Henderson, maybe the people above at Liverpool, I think we might have to wait a little bit longer for that. But I certainly think Henderson is going to be out of the spotlight for a while now, and maybe that's exactly what he needs.
Yeah, he said to Steve he was a big reason why I came to work with him and play under him. Not too sure about that, but I mean, I think his England career is basically over. I'd be very, very surprised if he gets put in another squad. Although Southgate does have the opportunity to do something hilarious and make him face a press conference with all the English press, because that would be an absolute firestorm for him. I mean, good luck, Mr. Henderson, if he's put to face the Lions there. Anyway, yeah, we'll leave those ones there. Let's talk about some transfers, shall we, Dave? We're once again talking about Romeo Lavia. I mean, this has been the theme of the summer, isn't it? It was Bellingham all of last year. It's going to be Romeo Lavia for the entirety of this summer, it looks like. Obviously, third bid was rejected. Dave, what's the latest on the Lavia situation, and can you see a situation being resolved by the weekend?
I mean, it's got to the stage now where it almost... I think that there's like a deadline to register a player. I think it might be... It would either be 12 o'clock Friday or 12 o'clock tomorrow in terms of registering them for a sort of a Premier League match week. But to be honest, I think we're now at a stage where, regardless if Lavia comes in before Chelsea, he's not going to feature in that game. Maybe you could sneak him onto the bench if something escalated rapidly, but it's at the point now where it could just tick over to another week and it wouldn't make that much difference. The delay has just been pretty farcical, to be honest. And Liverpool fans, to be fair, have high standards when it comes to transfers because they're used to efficiency. But this one has been, completely the other end of the scale. And I think Jamie Carragher said it was embarrassing. Maybe quite a strong word, but I also think he's not too far off with that description, just because effectively Southampton just haven't shown any room for manoeuvre on that 50 million price tag. So for Liverpool to repeatedly come back with offers that are considerably below that just feels a little bit like totally misreading the room, in that Southampton, as kind of the championship club in this scenario, are kind of just refusing to budge completely, and Liverpool just think that they're going to blink and they're not doing it. Every single day, there's kind of an update that you look at and you think, okay, this is the one that leads to the breakthrough, and finally we're going to see something happen here. Yesterday, it was the fact that Lavia wasn't in the squad, obviously, for the League Cup game that Southampton played against Gillingham, which I suppose is good news for Liverpool, because it means that, assuming they do get him in eventually, then he can play in the League Cup for them because he won't be cup tied. But people thought that was a sign of something imminent happening. Obviously not on yesterday. We'll see if today is the day for the 50th time or whatever it is now. And I think it's unfortunate for the player in a sense, because he is basically just suspended in limbo at the moment. He's not didn't play against Sheffield Wednesday last week. Wasn't in the squad. There was reports that he wasn't taking full part in training or anything like that. So he is in limbo. And then when he comes in, I think because it has been such a saga, and again, I'm assuming that a compromise is reached here, because I think the noise still suggests that there will be one eventually. I think when he comes in now, people are just going to be relieved rather than excited about the deal, and it's going to be seen as just an urgent necessity rather than anything to kind of celebrate, I suppose. And that's a bit unfair. And I think it's also unfair that Liverpool, haven't just kind of paid up and got him in, because it's sacrificed his preparation time for the season in a way. So he's going to be kind of thrust in with much less training and Klopp's philosophy behind him, unfortunately. So I think, just the atmosphere around this one is gradually getting worse and worse. Hopefully it does happen, because at this point, Liverpool have invested so much time into it. And I think his representatives have invested so much time into it that there's a sense that it'll be a waste if it doesn't happen. And I think most Liverpool fans would agree with that. They just need to, at this point, maybe earlier on, if you thought 50 million was too much, maybe move on to someone else. But I think at this stage, you've just got to kind of bite the bullet, unfortunately.
I agree. I mean, the second to last point you made there is the one that is the main sticker for me. I mean, it's really harsh on Romeo Lavia. I mean, faffing around, undercutting Southampton by, 8, 6, 4 million. It's like, just pay the money, because then he can come into Liverpool. He could have been there by the Singapore tour, embedded himself in the squad, been ready for the first Prem game of the season, whereas now he's going to come in after the opening weekend. Let's say Curtis Jones has an absolute blinder, which he may well do in the 6, and then Lavia's coming in then, he's got even harsher competition, even more scrutiny after all this hoo-ha with the fee. I mean, it's a bit of a mess, to be honest. I mean, lots of people are criticising Carragher, saying, oh, it's, transfer business, it's not too harsh. But I think it's ridiculous the way Liverpool have gone about it. And I think things have changed a lot with championship clubs in the past few years. You look at 5 or so years ago when they signed Wijnaldum, things were very different in the Championship then. I mean, the budget the clubs have now, like Southampton's budget for the season is absolutely huge in comparison to that. They don't need to budge over 5 million for Lavia. I mean, look at them getting 35 odd million for Livramento as well. They'll get good money for Ward-Prowse. So, yeah, I mean, it's baffling, especially with Liverpool's track record of transfers, of getting everything done quickly, swiftly, so almost under the carpet, and all of a sudden they're signed. Yeah, very, very strange. I'm sure it'll get solved probably by next week, as you say, David. It'd be very, very surprising if they were to pull out of it at this stage, having gone so public with all the bidding. Anyway, let's move on to another midfielder, Andre of Fluminense. I mean, there were some rumours last week, they weren't there, with their Copa Libertadores round of 16 tie against Argentinos Juniors. There were rumours that if they were lost, that they would have let Andre go. But of course, they won last night with 2 very late goals. That was always going to be the way it happened, wasn't it? I mean, is this a potentially big missed opportunity for Liverpool? Because he looks a pretty tidy player, doesn't he?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm still not 100% sure whether this one is a negotiating tactic, which hasn't worked from Liverpool's standpoint, because I think there've been 1 or 2 links. But there wasn't too much noise around this one, and then it really picked up all of a sudden after, I think, the third bid. Or it was the second or the third bid that was rejected. We're losing track of all the bids at this point for Lavia. But yeah, so I'm not 100% sure about how genuine it is. I mean, obviously they say, he is a serious target, but you have to say that. You can't play down your interest. So I think if there is a strong interest in Andre and they do want to bring him in as one of those future midfielders, I think it'll be one that gets revisited in January now. And if he was a real target for this summer, then it kind of speaks to the level of dysfunction that you're relying on. Basically, Fluminense getting knocked out of the Copa Libertadores to get a deal done, and you're approaching so late on. It just feels completely haphazard, to be honest, the way it's been done. Like I say, I think there might be something in January, because I think the Brazilian season will be sort of over then. But that presents its own issues, because, we need to make sure players actually get a break as well.
Exactly.
So be playing almost sort of 18 months straight of football or something like that if you got them in then. So yeah, I think it, unfortunately, again, it's just a symptom of the chaos going on at the moment, this transfer, and maybe we would have seen something happen. I think the player has got a release clause, but it's a lot higher than the amount that Fluminense might sell for in January. So yeah, I think this one has gone increasingly quiet, and I think the news from yesterday means that you wouldn't sort of be available until the final days of the transfer window, and you'd like to think Liverpool would have everything done by then, but unfortunately, the way it's going now, it looks like it'll be a busy deadline day, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a busy last few weeks of the window, Dave, isn't it? I mean, very surprising given the profile that Schmack supposedly had when he came in. We were expecting it to be, lots of quick-fire business in midfield, a big, quick overhaul, but we've sort of seen all the players leave and no one come in. So things are looking very, very tentative heading into the season. And then, of course, as you mentioned there with Andre, I don't think we'll see him until at least January. And, they could go far on the Copa Libertadores, which means he'll be playing a lot of games in his season. You don't want him to come straight into a Gegen-pressing midfield, do you, off the back of playing 50-odd matches? It's a recipe for disaster. Anyway, just a couple of other news stories that I'll just quickly tell our viewers about. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, according to Paul Joyce at the Times, is set to undergo a medical at Turkish side Besiktas. Nice little move for him there. And on loan Liverpool goalkeeper Harvey Davis proved to be the difference as Crewe beat Sunderland in the first round of the League Cup. He made loads of saves across the 90 minutes and even saved a penalty. Maybe he should have been the third choice keeper for this season. Maybe he will be for next season. Who knows? But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone for watching along with us here on the Blood Red YouTube channel and Liverpool.com, Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to us across all of those channels and following on the websites, because we'll bring you the latest transfer news as soon as we have it. Hopefully some Lavia news ahead of the Chelsea match at the weekend. And of course, plenty of build-up ahead of that game and other daily podcasts and loads of other written content from our brilliant writers like Dave on Liverpool.com. But yeah, for now, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you again soon.